Hi everyone. So this week we were encouraged to discuss two topics, one of which was why are we learning of the evolutionary theory and the associated theorist in a history of psychology class, and whether these revolutionary thoughts influence the development of our field, or the second topic, which was the major social reform movements of this week's focus. Once again, I feel like our discussion was a mix of responses between both of the prompts. With that being said, I found many of this week's discussion posts very interesting, but for the sake of time, I'll only focus on a few. So one peer focused their discussion post on how evolutionary psychology can be traced back to the development of the evolutionary theory. One statement that stuck with me from this peer's post was his sharing of the goal that he thought was of the evolutionary theory, or of evolutionary psychology. He said that this goal was to discover and explain cognitive mechanisms that guide human behavior. And I found that statement very interesting. I really liked that. And this peer also mentioned that he thought the reason we are learning of the evolutionary theory is to gain perspective. And he also elaborated on Charles Darwin and how evolutionary psychology can be traced back to Charles Darwin's contributions to evolution. And then another peer's post that really resonated with me, she elaborated on the second prop, focusing on Dorothea Dix and Margaret Sanger's contributions to humanitarian reform. This peer mentioned perhaps one of Dorothea Dix's biggest contributions to the time was this shift in how patients were viewed. She said that now patients were more so viewed as humans than maybe animals, although animals, as mentioned in lecture, were hoped to have been treated better. Additionally, this peer elaborated on Margaret Sanger and how Margaret Sanger had a focus on reproductive choice. And I really liked how she worded that reproductive choice. And I specifically liked how this peer elaborated on the fact that this is still an active issue. Justice Sadie Sachs struggled and looked to Margaret Sanger for help multiple times. As this peer mentioned, this is still more than likely going on today, especially with their turning over of Roe versus Wade. So that is just a synopsis. Hope everyone has a great week.